So because this is going to be a little bit long, I'm going to do this in 2 parts, and this is part 1. So there's a lot to get into in this video. And what I'm going to do is show you guys some receipts, go over some stuff about the Baby Ariana case. We're going to get to some facts. Now, just so everybody knows, when I have a source that comes to me, there's a lot of things that I do to try to verify that that source either is who they say they are or that their information is correct. There's a lot of personal information that they will have to give, a lot of things that they have to share, things that only that person or a source close to the case would actually know about. So my source has been verified, and I'm going to post you guys some receipts. And we're going to get into a lot of the lies that Baby Ariana's mom has told and the truth behind them and how we got them verified. The first thing we're going to start with is the ownership of the daycare center. Now, the daycare center was purchased by Anna back in 2002. And Fabi had worked there until 2003, which is Joel's wife. And then they had purchased this in 2017. Now, one of the things that Alex, who is Baby Ariana's mom, has been going around and saying is that Joel doesn't have the credentials or anything to be a director. But at the same time, you guys have been sharing his degree in business. Credentials or not, he is the registered owner, him and his wife, and they have been since 2017. Go ahead and look at this. You can pause to read. Now, this was pulled up on the state's website. Anybody can pull it up. And as you can see, this daycare has not been red flagged. It's in compliance. Everything's been up to par. And look, it's got the registered owners. Now, let's move on to the date that this incident happened. So, the baby was dropped off or signed into daycare at 8:47 a.m. We know that because this is the sign-in sheet. Now, with the sign-in sheet and something else that I'm going to post in a little bit, understand that the time zones on these are based on where the server is located at. So the server is an hour ahead. It's in Central Time Zone. And so therefore the sign-in shows that it was 9:47, but as the mother has verified, it actually was 8:47. Now we know that the mother has been out there putting out stuff how she made this big deal because he wasn't turning over any of the footage. Mr. Estrada literally gave the keys to the police, and they took everything. You guys can pause to read, but here's a copy of the search warrant. As you can see, when I say everything, I mean everything. They got samples of any vomit or blood or urine or feces, every spit, every text message, cell phones. They took the entire DVR, the entire security system. They took photographic evidence. They took biological materials. They took CD-ROMs, text messages, micro SD cards, any hard drives, camcorders. There is nothing in that daycare facility that could try to prove that this did or didn't happen that the police did not take. The mom even tried to say that there were areas in the daycare center that were not covered by cameras. On the contrary, there are areas that are not being used by the facility, but they're still covered under cameras. What is on the footage is a partial truth of what Alex's mom has been talking about, and that is that the Mr. Estrada was working with this new intake person. First of all, it wasn't a parent, but he was working with somebody. The entire time that Ariana or the children were there that morning, he was not in contact with the children. He was busy working, doing what needed to be done with this person that he was either training or working with. He had not been with the children that day. As a matter of fact, he actually had nothing to do with this incident from the beginning, except that staff had come to him. He contacted mom via phone call and was like, hey, this is what one of the staff had noticed. And her response was, okay, well, send me some pictures. He sent her the picture. She's like, that's definitely not normal. I'm on my way. And even she asked the same question, the same thing that has been put out there. Is it only on the outside? Is it also on the inside? Take a look at the messaging. Now, before I move forward in the story with what happened once mom got there, I also wanted to clarify some things that were being said and being put out there by the mom when it comes to the man who owns this daycare center. Okay, so this is part 2. We left off where I was about to clarify some things that the mom had been putting out there and give you guys some more facts. Yes, there is an apartment that Mr. Estrada did get a lease for in August of 2023. But I'm going to tell you the part of this that the mom is not telling you about why Mr. Estrada had that apartment. Him and his wife were separated. They were having marital issues. When they separated, he went and he found this apartment, and it was convenient because the daycare opened at 6 a.m. It wasn't too far, and it was in a reasonable distance to the daycare center. He didn't take anything from the marital home. He didn't take the furniture. He didn't take anything. So Mr. Estrada was buying furniture. It didn't come fully furnished. So he had to buy things to furnish this. He wanted to turn this into a bachelor pad. While that was probably not the best choice, being that even though he is separated from his wife, he's still married, but that was what he wanted to do with the apartment. He was making a bachelor pad. So now let's go back to the daycare center, and we're now on the part where they had the text message exchange, where I ended in the last video. So after this text message exchange, mom gets there and she just kind of starts wilding out. Speaking with some of the people from the facility, when they saw this, nobody's mind, none of the staff's mind went to that this child had been SA'd. That wasn't like the last thing that anybody thought of. And so mom immediately jumps into this whole big thing, and Mr. Estrada ends up having to call 911. This is a copy of the call log. That is a copy of the 911 call that he made from his phone. Again, you'll notice that the timestamp is off by an hour because of where the server is actually located at. Now, I'm not going to get into too many details about everything that happened with the hospital because I've already done that in my previous video, where the mom made comments saying that nobody there believed her. They said the baby had a UTI and all this other kind of stuff. They didn't want the baby to be traumatized through an R kit, but yet she did it anyway. Whatever. So we're just, right now what I'm trying to do is clarify the facts when it comes to the daycare center and some of the stuff that the mom is saying. Now, this message here has also been going around. Now, if you read this text message, he talks about leaving a phone in the vehicle because it had too much information or something on it, too much evidence on it. Immediately, mom has put out this scenario that he was trying to hide evidence. I'm going to tell you exactly what that was about. See, Alex, the mom, has been out here making threats. As everybody has seen through the footage at the police department, she went in there yelling and cursing at them, talking about taking his phone and doing all kinds of different things. He had already given the police everything that they had asked for, everything covered on the warrant, everything that they needed, they had already had. He had his own backup of the cameras on there. And God forbid something happened, that was going to be his evidence to exonerate him. That was the only thing that he had to show that he didn't do what he's being accused of doing. Mom is freaking out. She's making all these kind of threats. So that message where he said he was leaving it in the vehicle is because he was afraid that the mom or somebody from her team or encampment or protesters were going to physically attack him because of the threats that were being made and try to get that phone. So he figured it would be safer to not have it on him coming in and out of the daycare center or around them just in case she made good on her threats. Now we're going to go into the aftermath. I'm going to show you messages from some of the families. Now, this was a group chat or a post or whatever that was going on with some of the families who had kids that went to the center. You know, the moms whose kids were also victims and were coming forward, according to Alex. As you can clearly see, all the moms have said that their children had said that nothing happened. One mom's 2-year-old was cleared. Another mom's 4-year-old was like, no, you know, he didn't do anything to me either. Now, one of the moms is doing what she should be doing. And even though the child is cleared and stated that nothing, sorry about that. So even though there was nothing there and the child was cleared, what she still decided to do was go ahead and take the child to see a psychologist, let the child start getting some sort of therapy. And if there was anything there, let it come out in a professional capacity, the way it is supposed to do. Not constantly pressure the child and try to get the child to say something happened that didn't happen. She willingly admitted it didn't happen. My child's good, but just in case, I'll put my child in therapy in case anything needs to come out. That's called responsible parenting. Okay, now the last thing that the mom, well, actually there's a whole bunch of things, but the last thing I want to address is where she's going out there and spreading the rumor that I am tracking her daughter's art kit. Nowhere has that ever been said. What I am waiting for is a public information request, and I have been tracking that, and it's in the process, and that is for any 911 calls and reports or anything that were made that is currently available to the public. Don't know if it's going to be released yet. So when you guys look at everything that's going on, so you have a mom here who's making all these noise. Why? Because it's not going to get swept under the rug. Her child's not going to be a silent victim. But you have a police department that has taken her accusation apparently very seriously. I mean, they've done a search warrant and they have gathered every single thing they can possibly think of. There's an active investigation. They've already looked at the footage, apparently. They've looked at a lot of the evidence. She's upset there hasn't been an arrest made. She's not willing to concede to the fact that maybe there's not an arrest made because maybe, just maybe, what she thinks happened didn't actually happen. Instead of letting the police do their job, as we can clearly see they are trying to do, she's out there raising money for I don't know what. I mean, she's doing meet and greets with her daughter. I mean, she's literally taken this poor little child and thrust her out there and is using her to make money, to meet people, to do all kinds of things that are just so unbelievably disturbing. And every time you mention it or you get too close to the truth, as we all saw from last night, she immediately goes on the attack. But I am going to say this. If, let's just say if, by chance something happened, there was a touching incident they can't prove, or whatever the case may be, I do hope this little girl gets justice because she deserves it. And if in fact it is ever proven that something did happen, I would publicly apologize to her because I'm not above that. But at this point, if it didn't happen and she has tried to destroy this man's life, God, you know what? Everybody loves a comeback story. And I would really hope that content creators, if it's ever proven this never happened, that other content creators will go out there and help this man get his life back. And I really hope that the state would step in and do what is right by this child.